Welcome back, one and all. As we heard last time, revenge was had. And here's some notes about that. From Cirque. Actually, that was all nerdia. It was a simple 0-0 print the Ginyu team pwns you. 0-1 go to 0-0. That was set to run full screen and couldn't be closed unless you rebooted. And it was set as a replacement for every shortcut he had. There was also the other time that I pulled the old take a screenshot of the desktop and set it as a wallpaper and then hide all the icons in a folder trick. That left him hammering at his mouse, convinced it was broken, before throwing it to the floor in rage. And then getting his other $200 mouse, which then also didn't work. I dropped a hint that maybe it was the Ginyu virus again, but, you know. So again, time moves on. Perhaps sadly, we come to the last major case study of living with that guy. The world turned. Spring turned to early summer. Luke had thankfully been abducted by his parents several times over the intervening months, with predictable results. The raw, scraped look of a man who's been forcibly pushed down a stretch of whitewater rapids with the barber shop at the end. Each time, the same cycle of filth buildup. It was at one point where Cirque and I had just managed to find evidence of the end of the squirrel infestation that Luke had announced that he would be looking into moving into a new house. There he stood, in all his encrusted glory, with a look in his eyes that perhaps implied that there was some part of him that truly, honestly needed us. He was looking for a house for next year's study, he informed us, as the landlord had refused to renew the contract, and he was looking for new tenants after the end of the current tenancy. Myself and Cirque exchanged a look. I gave possibly the most meaningful response I've ever given and may ever give in my life. Righto then, good luck with that. He never spoke to us again. He left for his room, and soon we heard loud rap music permeating through the floorboards above the living room, a cacophony that was to last for several days before he was threatened with an ASBO by the neighbors. His smell lingered for a while, then went to join him. But that, of course, is not the end of this story. Case Study 6. Being a case study of that guy's room after his departure. Luke left several weeks later. Cirque and I had found accommodation elsewhere in a house with our other friends and acquaintances from the society. As all of you will know, however, an integral part of the end of tenancy is the cleaning up of a house in order for viewing to take place. We elected to draw straws for cleaning tasks. We would each clean our own rooms, obviously, and then draw straws for the division of tasks. One side was Luke's room and the other the bathroom. On the otherwise was the living room and the kitchen. I drew Luke's room. I'm not going to back out on the deal. I donned my old work clothes and gloves, drew in a deep breath, and opened the door to the room. The first objective would be the windows. If I could open those, the smell would start to disperse from the room, allowing me to work without retching too much. The door was difficult to open. Several seconds of pushing followed without success. In the end, I took a couple steps back and threw my weight against the door. Of course, with the momentum of my not-too-modest weight, I ended up inside the room, on my knees. The first thing that struck me was this. The object obstructing the door was the aftermath of a refuse avalanche. I was currently knee-deep in cocktail sausage packaging, half-finished pot noodles, and disturbingly clumps of hair. And then the smell hit me. Before, it was merely extraordinarily foul. Now, the coming of warmer weather had combined with the mounting refuse to create... I resolved not to breathe and focus on the objective. I waded forward past the landslide, dislodging a bag that contained hundreds of tiny flies, clouding my vision. My eyes watered as the smell overpowered my senses, and the wax began to melt in my ears. Every inch of uncovered skin itched. Such was the foulness of this place. I finally made it to the window, pushed it open, dislodged a year and a half of dust and corrosion. Air, sweet air. I took a deep breath and waded back out of the room. Obviously, the room needed to air out a little. Cirque didn't mind as long as I got rid of the clothes I had worn and didn't go anywhere near him. I showered. A couple of hours later, in a different set of old clothes, the air was bearable, at least. The rubbish would have to go first. Our bin is already full, so it's time to employ the shed to hold off the refuse while we waited for night to fall to deliver presents to unwitting neighbors' bins. Rubbish collection and movements is never a nice task at the best of time. Luke had never used a bin bag to store his waste in, so the first task was to gather everything into easy-carrying devices. Of the rubbish, the more notable pieces contained Luke's book, which has been alluded to before, but not extrapolated on by myself. Heavily used and stained with green, slightly viscous substance. Smell confirmed as cum, much to my revulsion. No less than 6 of the 8 houseplates with large amounts of furry mold growing on the surfaces, and in one case, the underside as well. The remains of the dead flowers, also covered in mold with the vase. 2 heavily used pornography books, depicting a feces-related fetish on the encrusted covers. The remains of a pizza, possibly the one from Case Study 4, covered in flies, with evidence of maggot infestation. I resolved to be a better person for the rest of my life, if only I never had to do this again. Waste successfully removed, I surveyed the room. The carpet was caked in dirt, hair, and an unknown substance. The area of the carpet that had been eaten away during my last visit had grown significantly, to about half a foot in diameter, blackened around the edges. This revealed the large hole in the skirting board, the area littered with droppings concurrent with squirrel infestation. The furniture in the room had been left largely intact, but with a thin coating of waxy grease. He had left his cup, which had started with a capacity of about 1.5 pints, but could now only carry as much fluid as a champagne flute. This was hastily disposed of. The house cutlery, although tarnished, would survive. I put them to one side to give to Cirque later. The curtains were removed to be washed. This dislodged a small rain of dirt and grime from the top of the curtain rail, where it had collected. The windowsill was caked with dirt, presumably from where the vase of flowers had fallen over. This would only be removed with a wallpaper stripper. I moved over to the last part of the room that I hadn't surveyed yet, the bed. The duvet and sheets, of course, would have to go. I pulled them from the bed. What I saw there caused a hasty retreat from the bathroom. A large, black stain at groin height on the mattress, yellowed at the edges, but only just noticeable. No smell, God bless it, but big enough to make me retch my dinner into the toilet pan. Eventually, after I composed myself, I called Cirque and showed him with similar consequences. We turned the mattress over and resolved never to speak of it again. We moved the furniture in such a way that the holes in the carpet were concealed and scrubbed the floor as best we could. Once all of the grime was removed, it was about 3 a.m., just in time, as the first house inspection was in the morning. The house inspection went reasonably well. We had to work our hands raw for most of the previous 48 hours just to get... So we were glad of the rest. The landlord, too, was pleased and impressed. Liberal and strategic use of air freshener had all but obliterated the lingering smell. Only a slight metallic tang in the air remained. The prospective tenants were 3 South American exchange students, all female. They liked the living room, the kitchen, they found the bathroom and smaller bedroom to their liking, and they really liked the location. Just one room left. The landlord looked over their heads at us, pensively. We nodded slightly, and with a deep breath, opened the door to the room. We went downstairs to get a cup of hard-earned coffee. We could do no more. I will never forget the scream of horror and disgust and revulsion as she had turned that mattress over. Surprisingly, he had managed to secure the deal. We gave him an inventory of damages to the room, which he assured us would come from Luke. We moved out a week later into our new home. We were followed. We'll find out what happens in the next episode. Thank you all for watching. If you're enjoying this and would like to send in your own stories, you can do that by going to r/Moonhorse Stories. And if you'd like to keep the lights on in this place so we can keep doing this, you can do that by donating to my Patreon or by going to the merch shop, or you can do both. I mean, that's entirely up to you. Anyway, I'll see you in the next episode. I love you all, and goodbye!